Hello everyone, this is Ahmad GHL Boy. In today's video, I am going to show you how to create the automations for custom objects. In this video, I will be specifically talking about the custom objects for children related industry, but you can use the same way and same method and same logic to create the automations for any other industry like real estate as well. So there will be two parts of this whole process. The first part is to create the custom objects itself. I have a separate video on how to create the custom objects specifically for the children related industry. So you can just watch that. I will drop the link of that video in the description. But in today's video, I will be specifically talking about how to create the automations for custom objects. So the case scenario is that I need a form that I can put on my website where the parents or guardians can come in on my website and submit the information about them or about their about their children. So whenever that form gets submitted, I want the child to be automatically created inside GoHighLevel and link it with their parents' information that they submitted on the form. So this is our case scenario that I will be talking about. So let's just dive into it and see how we can create the automations for custom objects, specifically for the children related industry.
The Go High Level boy,
Ahmed at the GHL boy.
GHL boy, Ahmad.
Rashid.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you to the rest of your team.
As I mentioned that the part one is going to be to create the custom objects itself. And I have a separate video, so you can just watch that. But once you have created the custom objects, then the second part would be starting from the form. So let's just go to sites and then we go to forms and then go to form builder. Let's just create a new form, start from scratch. Okay, first of all, let's rename the form. Let's say child info form. Okay, what I need here, let's remove the first name, last name, and I'm going to use full name on the top, and then phone, email looks good, and then on the top, I would like to have a text. It is. So let's just type here your info, and then there would be, let's say, your name, and let's make it required. So their name, email, phone, let's just delete this and also delete this. Okay, so this is going to be their info, their name, phone, email, and now we actually need custom fields. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a separate folder for the children's info. So if we go back, we go to settings and we go to custom fields here. So I'm going to add a folder. Let's call it child info, and I will link it with the contact because we will have to use these custom fields inside the form. Once we have created a folder, now we can go back and go to sites here, form. Let's go to child info form. Now we can add a custom field and we will have to add it for contact. So let's just go to custom fields, add. I'm going to make it single line. So the first one would be child name, and I'm going to put it under child info folder. And quick add, we go to text. And I'm going to name it child info. There we go. And then we go to custom fields, child info, there would be a child name. And now we need another custom field that would be, let's say, drop down single. I'm going to name it as your relationship with child, and I'm going to put it under child info. The first would be, let's say, father, and then mother, and then let's say guardian. So we have this one. I'm going to put it under your info. So your relationship with child. And then for the child info, let's see if we need to ask for the date of birth of the child. So I'll go to date picker here, child, date of birth. I'm gonna put that under child info, save. Here it is. I'm gonna drag that right here. Child name, make it required. Date of birth, make it required. There we go. So in this way, you can ask for more information about the child or about the parents or guardian if you want. But I think this would be a good as an example. So now that we have a form, what we need is, so these custom fields, as you see, these all custom fields are for the contact. Now what we need these two custom fields for the child as well. So what we do is we go to settings, and then we go to custom fields. Here, if you see, when we go to folders and we go to child custom fields, here we only have the folder which is called child info, and inside it we have only one custom field which came up by default once we create the custom objects. And I want to add another field. This would be specifically for the child, and I want to make it date of birth. So it would be child date of birth. So the custom field child date of birth that we created inside the form, that was linked with the contact. That means that would be linked with the parents or guardian. But this one, because we are creating it inside the child, so this will be linked with the child. So let's save it. There we go. Okay. So now the next step is we will be creating. So now that we have a form, so we will have to create the automation. So let's just go to automation, and we will have to create a form. So first, let's create a workflow, start from scratch. Now what we want to do is, as soon as that form gets submitted, we need to create a child and link it with their parents. So I'm gonna name it as form submission, would be form submission. So what we want to do is, as soon as that form gets submitted, form submitted, and apply the form. Form is child info form, save. And here we will have to execute a webhook, and I'm going to show you where to get the webhook and why do we need to get, why do we need that webhook. Okay, when we go back and we go to create another workflow, once we go to create a workflow, here you will see children based workflow. So once we go there, so if you see, once we are going to, so I'm going to name it as child creation, because this is the workflow that will be creating the child. So if we go to trigger, we don't have any form submission trigger available right here. So if you see, we have only these triggers available. So either child created, child changed, and inbound webhook. But in our case, our trigger is going to be form submission. So that's why I created the previous workflow. But in this, we can only have like these three default triggers. So I'm going to use this one, inbound webhook. And here is the webhook URL, which I'm going to copy from here. And I'm going to save, but before saving, it's going to ask me to fetch some of the information. So let me just click on it to see if we can get any sample data. I will just have to copy this, and then if I go back to another tab, I will go to automation. Here I have a workflow which is form submission. I will go to that one. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as the form gets submitted, I'm going to execute the webhook. So here is the webhook, and here I'm going to drop the inbound webhook URL that we get from other workflow. So here the trigger is going to be inbound webhook, and we get this URL. We go here and we paste that URL right here. I'm going to save this, publish this, and save. Now we will have to run a test so that the data comes up into this webhook. So what I'm going to do is I go back. I will go to sites to get the link of the form so that we can submit that form to get the data into the webhook. I come here. I'm going to review this form and let's submit this form. Okay, I'm gonna name it as full name. Phone would be anything, and then the email would be you're at email.com. Your relationship would be father. Let's say anything. The child name is going to be child name. The date of birth, let's pick any date of birth. As soon as I submit this form, that workflow is going to be triggered, which is gonna send the data into the webhook. So if we go to this workflow where the webhook will be executed, now we will see some sample data right here in a moment. If you see this data came up, let's see what data was into it. Okay, here is the data, but the data that we need would be right here. So here is the child name, your relationship with child that came up, child date of birth, their first name, last name, their full name, their email, phone. These are the important things that we need. So let's save trigger. And then what we are going to do is now we are going to create a child. So create child. I'm going to rename it as only create child. So object, here we have two objects to be created, but we are going to create the child. And here the child name, this is the primary display custom field. So I'm going to map it with the data that we receive inside the webhook. And inside the webhook, we receive the full name. That's actually the parents info. So inbound the webhook, we need this child name. So this will be, and we can add more fields, which will be child date of birth. We are going to map it with the same inbound webhook, and inside the inbound webhook, we have child date of birth. So that's how we have mapped the fields. So as soon as this webhook executed, which will be executed through the previous workflow, which is on the form submission. So form gets submitted, execute webhook. That is the previous workflow. And this workflow, webhook executed, create the child with this information. So let's save it. And now we need to create a contact as well so that this child can be linked with that contact. So what I'm going to do is again create child, but instead of creating child, we will call it create associated record. So in this, we are going to create a contact, which will be the contact which is going to be linked with this child. So in this way, email is going to be, we go to inbound webhook, and here is the email of the parent basically. So right now I'm going to only map the email, and I'm going to tell you why I am only mapping the email. But later we come back and we, at that time, we will add all of those custom fields as well. And then here, association label, we have created these labels. So now that the problem is we are asking on the form. So what we will have to do is, let's do it, create father. I'm going to call it create father. And this time we will be creating father, and what I'm gonna do is here I will use if else condition, which is this. Here I'm gonna name it as father, and then here what I'm going to do is inbound webhook. Your relationship with child is if it is father, then we will have this branch, and then I'm going to duplicate this branch. I'm gonna name it as mother, and if your relationship with child is mother, and then we will have to duplicate this branch again for the guardian. Okay, so in this way we will have three separate branches based on that. Okay, so child will be created and then it's gonna check if they have selected father, then we are going to create father. Otherwise, we will copy it here and I'm going to name it mother. Here it will be same, and here association label is going to be mother. The same thing we will be doing for the guardian. So let's just copy this section, put it right here, and let's rename it as create guardian. And then here I'm gonna make it guardian, save, and save the workflow. So these two workflows are needed to create the child and link it with the object. So I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen. Let's publish this workflow, save it, and then we have another workflow which is right here. So I'm going to automation so that I can show you both of the workflows one by one. Form submission. So this is where our automation gets started. Form submitted, webhook got executed. And then there is other workflow. Webhook executed, create child, and then create their corresponding contact. If they have selected father, then another. So this action is going to actually create a contact and link it with this child. So now, actually, when we are going to test it, we will see a problem there, and then I'm going to show you what's going to be the solution of that problem. But now what we are going to do is I'm going to contacts and I'm going to delete a contact that was just created while uh, the testing. So I'm going to just delete this. Here we go. Okay, so here is the form. I'm going to submit this form again. And this time a child will be created and it is going to be linked with your parents. So let's put it the name. I'm just going to type it as it is, your name. The phone is going to be this, and the email is going to be you're at email.com. Your relationship with child, let's make it father, and the child info is going to be child name. Child date of birth is going to be, let's say, Annie. Let me just go in and make sure there is no child already, just to avoid any confusion. So there is no child here at the moment, and inside the contacts we don't have any contact other than these three, which are manager, seller, and buyer. So I'm going to submit this form, and if we go back, we will just have to refresh this page, and there will be two contacts created. Okay, so if you see now, two contacts have been created. There is one this, and then there is the other one this. And if we go to child to see the child info, there is would be a child which is be linked to any of those two contact. So it is a child, and if you see, it has been linked with that contact. But now the problem is that we actually get two contacts, and I'm going to tell you why we get two contacts. So here we have two contacts. This is the contact with the name, phone, and email. This contact was created during the form submission. As you know, whenever a form gets submitted, GoHighLevel automatically creates a contact for it. So this is that contact. And then we created a contact inside the workflow. Remember where we applied the conditions? I'm going to show you that in a second. So the first contact was created during the form submission, which is by default from GoHighLevel. And then the second contact, which is this one without the name, without the phone, and there is only email. This contact is created during the workflow. So this action, create, further create, this is actually creating a contact. So what happened is, if you see here, we only map the email. That's why I didn't map the other, so that we can differentiate between these two. If you see here, we only map the email. So a contact which only have the email is created by that workflow. So this contact, because it only has the email. So this contact is actually being created by this workflow. So now our problem is that we got two contacts, but that's not what we want, right? We only want one contact, and that contact should be linked with the child. So now this contact is actually created during the form submission, and this is the one that was created during with the help of the workflow. And if you see the contact which was created due to the form submission, that is not linked with the child. If we go here and if we go to associations, we will not find any child association with this contact. So if you see, there is no children. But if we go back, because the child is going to be linked with these contacts that will be created through the workflow. And if you see, this is the one which was created with the help of workflow. This contact will be actually linked with an association which will be child. So if you see here it has one children, and it is labeled as father. So now to resolve the problem of avoiding duplicate contacts, what we will have to do is, now that you see we have duplicate contacts, but that's not what we want. So the solution of this problem is, we go to business profile and we have to make sure that allow duplicate is turned off. So if we go here, if you say this allow duplicate contacts, this is turned on. So that's why the duplicate contacts were being created. And if we turn it off, now allow duplicate contacts, we have turned it completely off. And then we can just update this. Still, we will find, we will face another problem, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But once we do that, now let's just go back and do another test. For that, let me just go to children, and I'm going to delete these children so that we can run a new test. Here is a child. I'm going to delete it, delete record. And now we go to contacts, and I'm going to delete these two contacts as well. So delete, delete, dismiss. Let's just go to any other tab and come back to smart list just to get refresh. Okay, so we don't have any contact, we don't have any child. Let's just go to that form and submit that again. Now we have turned off allow duplicate, but now we will face another problem. Okay, so let's make it full name. Phone is going to be this. Email is going to be your at email, your relationship. I'm going to make it mother. Child info would be child name. Date of birth is going to be, let's say, 1st of January 2025. Now let's just submit this. And now when we go to contacts, Now you see there is only one contact which was being created. And if we go to children, there would be one child, which is going to pop up in a moment. So it is a child. But if you see this is not being linked or associated with any, any contact. Even if we go to contacts and we open up this contact, when we go to associations, there is no child as an association. So what has happened is only one contact was created, and this contact was actually created due to form submission. This contact was not created through the workflow because the association will be created with the contact which is actually being created through that workflow. So if I'm going to show you this one, because whenever the form gets submitted, the GoHighLevel doesn't know with which child we have to link that contact. So that's why we have this action. This is the action which actually going to link with this child. So if we go to execution log to see why this contact was not created through the workflow, and if you see there is an error, create mother, but there is an error, and the error is gonna show this location does not allow duplicated contacts because we have turned that off. So now we have a problem that if we turn on allow duplicate, we get two duplicate contacts. That is a problem. If we turn it off, then the actual contact, which is actually going to link with the child, that is not being created because the duplicate contacts are not allowed. So now what is the solution? Here is the solution. What I'm going to do is, what if we do this? We go to the other workflow, which is form submission. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually delete the contact which was created due to form submission. So form submitted, webhook get executed, delete that contact, and now go to the other workflow, webhook executed, create child, and create mother, father, or that contact. In this time, whenever that mother, father, or guardian is going to be created, the main primary contact will be deleted. So the duplicate contact is not going to be a problem for us. What I'm gonna do here is delete contact, save, publish. So form submitted, webhook get executed, and the other workflow will be following through. And then in the meantime, so the contact will be deleted. Now let's just go back and we go to children. We open up this child, delete this record. We go to contacts. We delete this contact. Delete. Go to smart list just to make sure that the contact was deleted. There we go. Now let's go to form and submit this form again. Okay, I'm gonna name it as my name just to make it different. The email is going to be my at email.com, and then my relationship, let's make it guardian, the child info. I'm gonna make it my child, and then the date of birth, I'm gonna make it, let's see, anything. Now when we go here, if we go to contacts, say now there is only one contact, the main contact was got deleted. And if we go to children, there is a child and it's actually being linked as a guardian with that contact. So, and when we go to contacts, there is only one contact, which is actually created through the workflow, not through the form submission. How do I know? Because if you see the name and the phone is empty because we have not mapped these two custom fields yet. So now what we are going to do is, this is the last part. We just have to map the name fields as well during the contact creation. So when we go to child creation workflow, And if we go here, create further, if you see, we have only map email, but this time we are going to map their other information as well, which would be, let's say we have first name, last name. Okay, let's do phone, and we are going to map it with inbound webhook phone. Add field, first name. Go to inbound webhook and first name. Last name. Go to inbound webhook, last name. There we go. Save. We have to do the same thing for mother. Add field, phone, inbound webhook, phone. What other first name, inbound webhook, first name, last name, inbound webhook, and last name. There is an other custom field actually, which is, yep, here, child name, so that we can see under the context as well. So it would be here, child name, and then your relationship with child. We go here, your relationship with child, and we go child date of birth, inbound webhook, child date of birth. So I'm going to save this one. Now that we have most of the stuff mapped there, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to actually delete this one and make the edits into the other one. Delete here, father, it looks good. Here I will make it father. So child date of birth is there, relationship is there, child name is there, perfect. And I'm gonna copy it over for the guardian as well. Delete guardian, save, save. Now let's go back to workflows. We go to children. That is my child. Delete. We go to contacts to delete the contact of this. Now there is no contact. Let's go to form and resubmit this form. Name it my name, email, email.com, my relationship guardian, child name, my child, date of birth. I'm gonna make it 3rd of January. Submit, and we go back here just to refresh. There is one contact. Let's go to children. It is one child, and it has been linked with that contact, my name, as guardian. So if you just open it up, you go to odd fields. Here is the my child, here is child date of birth, and if you go here to the association, you will see the association of this child. There is one contact, which is this one, who submitted this form as a guardian, which is good. So you can just type in the name of the child here to search for that specific child, or When we go to contacts, we have a contact here, that is my name. If you go to the associations of this contact, you will see one children here, which is my child, guardian. So this was the complete overview of how you can create the automation for children related industry, specifically to use the custom objects feature of GoHighLevel. Hopefully this video will help you, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe and press the bell icon so that you can get all the new updates from me. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
The Go High Level boy,
Ahmed at the GHL boy.
GHL boy.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you to the rest of your team.